Everyone seems to be talking in our area about the Auburn quarterback situation, the Auburn offense, and we're going to get a chance to talk to the Auburn quarterback today coming up at 9:30. So I look forward to getting his take on where Auburn's offense is, his play, and what Hugh Freeze was talking about yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it has taken a life of its own because Hugh was in front of the media once yesterday and then on the coach's show, right?
Right.
And the obvious question is going to be about the quarterback position, and Hugh was asked very early about it yesterday. Kind of, in a way, danced around whether or not there was going to be a change. He did say, though, that Peyton Thorne's better in practice. That's what I'm trying to point out is the starter beat out the backup for a reason, right? I mean,
right.
They look at a lot in that. That wasn't just like, one day where Peyton Thorne was better. There is a reason he's a starter. Now, that doesn't mean coaching staffs always get it right. We have seen backups come in sometimes and they tear it up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the coaching staffs don't always get the starter right.
That's right. That's right. So this sound segment, Rockstar, we're going to go cuts 1, 2, and 3 in order here. From yesterday, Hugh Freeze, as his day went on, 1, 2, and 3 into the evening with Andy Burcham, is brought to you today by our friends at Ghost Energy and Ghost Hydration. Authentic flavors, zero sugars, and no BS. Look for Ghost Energy and Ghost Hydration at all retailers that sell energy and hydration drinks near you. It's our friends right there with Ghost Energy. Hugh Freeze, not wanting to ghost his quarterback after loss to Cal, talking about Peyton Thorne right here yesterday at the news conference.
First of all, we aren't talented enough yet to play bad and win. And I know everybody doesn't want to hear that. The way we're choosing to build this is to try to develop young men. And obviously, if you follow recruiting, we're starting to get our roster to be better, but we can't play poorly and win, particularly with 5 turnovers. The struggle with it's really hard to not play a young man, whether it's Peyton or whoever else it is. It's really hard for me to not play a young man that consistently is the best performer in practice over and over and over and over again, and his execution of the offense, which has been pretty clear to all of us that throughout camp and throughout the practice weeks and everything, his performance and his understanding of what we want to do has been better than the others. And if you do that, then you kind of send a message that practice really doesn't matter. Having said that, you have to carry that over into the games. Sometimes adjustments have to be made, and I assure you we're prepared if that continues. We have to go another direction.
Okay, so real quickly there, to me, my ears, my Alabaster, Alabama IQ, which isn't very high, Peyton Thorne is the best performer in practice.
It doesn't sound close, does it?
It doesn't.
You said consistently the best. Yeah.
Never. It's not Hank Brown some days.
Right. It's consistently Peyton Thorne is the best.
Not Walker White some days.
That's right. Yeah.
Peyton Thorne,
that was
Peyton
what
Thorne.
I heard too. I've listened to that twice now, and that's what jumps out at me.
And then so we play him in the game.
Right.
Now at the end, he says, if you're the best practice player and you suck in the game, then eventually we may have to switch it up. But right now, it's still Peyton Thorne.
It's got to carry over at some point. Yes,
he's the best option we have right now. I don't see any way you can change about that. So now I got to coach up what I got.
That's right.
Cut number 2, Rockstar. Hugh Freeze, and this got some play yesterday. Hugh Freeze on shrinking the offense. Maybe I'm giving him too much. Now this is all off of just one loss to Cal.
That's right.
But maybe I'm giving him too much.
Okay.
Here's Hugh Freeze.
Like maybe
start it over for me. One at the beginning of it.
So we need to listen to this critically because this is the cut where different people have heard different things. Is that what you're telling me?
This is a big one. The next one is the one that everyone's...
But we're going to need to compare the next one to this one, right? So
maybe, yeah.
All right, so we need critical listening here. Everyone listen critically.
Our coaching staff feels like maybe we attempted to carry too much because of all the different looks that they give you, which they do, and they did a good job with that. And instead of us just, this is who we are, and let's do what we know we can do, where there's a clear mind, clear head, and I assure you the package will not be big moving forward for this week, and so that we can get an accurate picture of, is this going to be a reoccurring theme where we have to make decisions? So we probably carried a bit too much, but we just missed some very simple things that keep us ahead of the chains and not in those third and longs, which we just can't live in.
So offense too big against Cal, going to be smaller against New Mexico. That's what I take away from that. Is that what you take away?
Yes.
Okay.
And I heard there that we're gonna trim it down, and if you can't understand that, if you can't handle that, then we may have to make some changes.
Now, what goes unsaid there, I mean, if you read between the lines, if a package is too big, if you give a quarterback too much, you've got a quarterback that is maybe not as developed as he needs to be, right?
I mean that's what you do usually with a first-year starter.
Yeah. Can you give, and this is an extreme example that I'm about to use, can you give Patrick Mahomes too much offense?
No.
I don't think you can, right?
No.
Can you give, Joe Burrow too much? Those are professional quarterbacks, and it's an extreme example, but the reason I use that is I don't think Andy Reid thinks, let's don't give him too much here. As a quarterback develops, he should be able to run the entire offense.
Can I just say, though, that I've heard Hugh Freeze from SEC media days through all the preseason camp, through the Alabama A&M game, praise our boy Peyton Thorne.
He has, yes.
He has a better understanding of the offense.
Nobody's defended him more.
Yeah. Better understanding of the offense. Right. Knows it in and out. Sometimes he actually said this. I remember this. He actually said, in meetings now, sometimes he says something that I'm about to point out on tape, and Peyton says it before I do.
That's
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that. So that's where we were going into the Cal game.
Okay.
Now we're shrinking the package. Maybe it was too much. Then we get to the firestorm.
Okay. So this is the next step, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Tiger Talk last night. By the way, Mondays, Auburn Network's really good. I actually ran the board in Alabaster, Alabama on AM 1500 for the Auburn Network back in 1980 something.
Is that when they had the banger music that would come?
Oh, God, it was just so good. I had so much time because you could hear Jim Fife talking in the commercial breaks.
So good.
And Jim Fife was the best. I love the Auburn Network. Monday seems to be a little early to do the coaches show.
Well, that's when Coach wants to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think Andy was like, Hugh Freeze wants to do Thursday, and Andy said, no, I'm a Monday guy.
Yeah, because now you get to do the Hugh Freeze show, the Auburn coaches show
right.
on Saturday after the game. Then you get the Monday news conference, and then you get the Monday night coaches show. That's a lot of media, but it's out of the way.
Okay,
maybe that's what
he's done. Hugh's done now. You can focus on the smaller package.
So
that's what she said.
This is from Tiger Talk and the Auburn Network. Hugh Freeze last night down in Auburn, and Andy Burcham is the voice of the Tigers, and he asked Hugh Freeze about a meeting with the quarterbacks.
You mentioned earlier today that there were 15 plays that you were going to go over with the quarterback room.
Yeah.
Can you?
I did.
Okay.
And, it was very, very frustrating. It's not hard stuff, and just kind of baffled, truthfully.
Okay.
That I'm the first to stand before our team and say, guys, we called 5 plays that schematically they did not give you a fighting chance, and that's our fault, and that's tough for me to say, but I always do that. But honestly, there was one play in this game that I think was a bad call by our staff, and the rest of them, if we just now we blew a protection. You can't do that, and it cost us. We have a wheel route running down the sideline. No, they totally dropped him, and we blew a protection by our tailback, and missed that one. And then the others though were Peyton he just did not. 4th and 2 midfield. Was not a good decision. We got 2 slants that are just by themselves. They both won on 4th and 2. Stick it on them and let's move the chains. And he got greedy and tried to throw a deep ball and situational awareness, things like that.
Okay, so the controversy is whatever controversy there is in the Auburn world, and you can see more on this at thebarnauburn.com. We strongly encourage you to go join for $1 and enjoy the message boards. You can see all this. thebarnauburn.com, our Auburn website. So the controversy is, as I understand it, Andy Burcham asked a question about the meeting that Hugh Freeze had talked about in the press conference.
That's
we
right.
got 15 plays. I'm going to go sit down in the meeting with the quarterbacks, with Peyton Thorne, with Hank Brown, with Walker White, with Holden Gerner, and we're going to evaluate those 15 plays.
15 plays.
Andy asked that question, and Hugh Freeze starts answering that. But in the course of the answer, Hugh Freeze said, our staff made one bad call in that game.
Yeah, of those 50. He did say
No,
in that game. You're right.
He said in that game.
He did. You're right.
And that's
You're
where
right.
the controversy is, because some Auburn fans heard Hugh Freeze say, in those 15 plays, we made one bad call.
Right.
Some Auburn fans heard Hugh Freeze say, in that game, we made one bad call.
Play it again, Rockstar. I
mean,
that's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point. I went in listening for 15 plays because some Auburn people had taken it the way it was about 15 plays. But you're right. Let's hear it again and see if he says in the game.
You mentioned earlier today that there were 15 plays that you were going to go over with the quarterback
The
room.
question is about 15
Yep.
plays.
I did.
Okay.
And, it was
Yeah.
very frustrating. And it's not hard stuff. And just kind of baffled, truthfully,
Okay.
that I'm the first to stand before our team and say, guys, we called 5 plays that schematically they did not give you a fighting chance, and that's our fault, and that's tough for me to say, but I always do that. But honestly, there was one play in this game that I think was a bad call by our staff.
I mean, that's what he
And
said.
Yeah.
the rest of them, if we just now we blew a protection, you can't do that, and it cost us. We have a wheel route running down the sideline. No, they totally dropped him, and we blew a protection by our tailback, and missed that one. And then the others though were Peyton he just did not. 4th and 2 midfield. Was not a good decision. We got 2 slants that are just by themselves. They both won on 4th and 2. Stick it on them and let's move the chains. And he got greedy and tried to throw a deep ball and situational awareness, things like that.
Yeah, no,
That's
I mean,
good. That's good. I listen.
I mean, the question was about the 15 plays, but in the
he
course
said
of that
game.
question, he says, we made one bad call in that whole game, which, by the way, I don't believe.
Well, I mean, every play in a playbook, Brown.
I mean, what makes it a bad call?
When it's X's and O's, the error always goes to the end zone. There's never a play that's going to have a 17-yard loss in your playbook.
Yeah.
Right?
Why is this play stop right there? Oh, this play we're tackled for a 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a 5-yard gain on this one.
So yeah, I mean, every play,
Yeah.
if executed properly, is a touchdown
Yeah. I mean, it felt like
or positive yardage.
in that answer on the Auburn Network, there was a lot of player blaming there and not a lot of coach blaming.
Protection,
Running back,
greedy,
greedy quarterback, bad reads. Running back blew a protection. There was a lot of player blaming there, and we as coaches called one bad play. I mean, Hugh Freeze, right or wrong, puts this loss on his players, not on the coaching staff. He just did it.
He did. I mean, he did. Is that a bad thing? Is that a bad thing?
Well, fans don't like it because the players aren't the one making $8-9 million a year.
Okay, hold that thought.
All right.
Let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. I believe, and you Auburn fans in the chat room, let me know. I believe if Hugh Freeze had gone in there and said, it's all on me, it's our coaching staff, we're going to coach him up better, Peyton's good, Peyton's this, Peyton's that, I believe they'd have bitched about that.
No,
Am I
you're right.
wrong?
Fans
Am
are
I
going to
wrong?
bitch about anything when they lose,
Yeah.
Jim. No, you're absolutely right about that. But
So where's the road that I've got to drive
right.
to make it make you happy? If I go in there and say it's all us, it was the coaches, we're going to do better next time, blah 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 blah, then the fans are going to be like, why didn't we play Hank? We got to do this, we got to do that. If we go in there now and we do it this way, then you're going to say he's too critical of the players. What the hell are you supposed to do?
yeah, well, and this is going to become more and more of an issue as players start getting paid more and more money. Because, in the NFL, it is not taboo at all for, I'm trying to think of a good example. If Raheem Morris had walked in the news conference and said, Kirk did not play a good game, and that's on me, I've got to coach him better, but Kirk didn't play a good game. That's not taboo at all. It's a little more taboo in college football to walk in and say, Peyton didn't play a good game, but that's on me, I got to coach him more. Here's what I would say. Whether Hugh Freeze meant to say they made one bad call the entire game, or meant to say in the course of those 15 plays, 14 of them were good calls and one was a bad call. Either way, Hugh was saying that was a player loss, not a coaching loss. That's what he said. You can't get around that.
Yeah.
Now,
But aren't they all? Aren't they all that way?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes coaches coach out of there, you know what, and you just don't have good enough players. Now, that's on the coach for not recruiting good enough players,
I know, but
yes,
it's always
but in
the
a
players.
context of a game.
All due respect to Nick Saban and Bear Bryant and all the greats that stand on the top of the college world, they can only do so much. The players are the ones that have to go out there and execute.
Yeah.
So the players win,
But
and the players lose.
But I'm going to say, if they were evaluating 15 plays, I've got to assume it was the most critical 15 plays of the game. Would you not assume that? I don't think Hugh Freeze just randomly selected 15 plays, or there were like 15 plays that, might or might not have been important. I'm going to guess if you're going to go to a quarterbacks meeting and evaluate, here are 15 plays, guys, we want to look at. These were critical plays for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a critical error. Maybe it was a critical down and distance. Maybe, whatever made it critical, these are critical plays. And even if he didn't mean to say the whole game, what he did say was in the 15 plays we identified as most critical, we only called one bad one.
Yeah.
So that
listen, okay, AM golfer, landmine believer. I'm not saying you should throw players under the bus. I'm saying what should he have done here if he had not? You guys are blaming him for throwing players under the bus. I think the Auburn fans would have been equally upset if he'd said, "Hey, it's all on us."
Well,
Right.
you just get tired of hearing that after a while. I mean, it's fine to say that.
It's all the coaches.
Yeah, I mean, every loss, if it's on us, it's on us, it's on us. At some point, you're like, well, we're paying you $8-9 million.
Yeah.
It can't be. You can't keep losing and it be on you.
Okay.
But we did this with Billy Napier. I mean, after week 1 when they lost and he started in on all that same stuff. We said on this show, when you're a fan, you're tired of hearing that.
Yep.
I'm paying you almost $10 million. I don't want in year 3 you to be standing, and in Hugh Freeze's case, year 2, you to be standing in front of a podium talking about how bad you're coaching.
Cut one today was, it's they're building this slowly. He said that. Remember that? I played it earlier. He's building this slowly. Some of you may not like this, but I'm building it slowly.
Yeah,
it's a
he
slow,
did say that.
It's a slow build. Get the message board ready, even the ones that are roasting me.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify.
Okay.
I don't necessarily think you should roll players under the bus. I'm just saying when you lose a college football game, there is nothing you can say. There's nothing you can say that's going to make the fans happy.
You're correct on that. I would care. Chris says, who cares if it was about 15 plays of the game? Fact of the matter is Thorne missed too many opportunities. There are a couple of comments like this. Hawk to us says these kids make millions now to play a game, so he's saying they're not immune to the criticism. Not many make millions, but some do. There's no doubt about it.
Quarterback usually does.
Quarterback can, and I don't know at what number do they cross that line of being, let's take it a little easier on the players in college too. They're making this amount of money. They deserve all the criticism they can get.
Yeah. I
don't know where that number is.
I am of the belief that if I was a coach, that I would blame my players privately, but publicly I would always take the blame and go positive and try to coach it up. That's the way I would do it.
Right.
I would be a very boring news conference.
You would be.
Right? This is great that Hugh is so open because it just gives us a ton of things to talk about. But if I was the coach, I would give you nothing to talk about.
Chris, these players are getting paid NIL. Get over it. They're adults. Do your job. I think there isn't an element of that. I don't disagree with him on that. Toby, Hugh Freeze is the leader of the team. Blaming the players demonstrates a lack of leadership. It may be true, though. I mean, I'm not discounting the fact. Well, I did discount it earlier, so I guess I need to walk that back. I mean, it's hard for me to believe you could evaluate an entire game and say, we really only had one bad play call. Maybe you do. I've never sat and evaluated a game, so it's unfair for me to say that. It's unfair. But to say you evaluated the game or 15 plays or whatever and you made one bad play call, that is one heck of a statement right there. I mean, that's a pretty good job of coaching, I would say. Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Blake, what was Auburn's halftime adjustments? Didn't seem like they did anything different between the two halves. I would disagree with that. Defensively, Auburn was much better in the second half. Now, offensively, you could certainly make that argument.
Hats off to DJ Durkin for adjusting because 20 of 22 in the first half, and it wasn't the same in the second half. I would I would go back to offensively. It wasn't just Peyton Thorne he was talking about. He talked about the protection.
Yeah.
Broke down several times.
Laura says, damned if you do, damned if he doesn't. A little bit of that comes along, though, with the paycheck. I mean, you don't get paid that kind of money, and you're not in some sort of situation where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? I mean, that's just the way it works. Auburn fans are not unlike any other fan base. Auburn fans, if they're going to pay that kind of money, they expect results out of it very quickly. And coaches, I've yet to see a coach say, hey, Auburn wanted to pay me $8 million, but I think this is going to be a slow build, and I don't want to take too much from them for a slow build, so I'm going to stay at 4. And I'll stay at 4, and then when we build it up, maybe we can go to 8. But I'm going to stay at 4 right now.
So if Hugh came out today and said, I did a crappy job last week, I want to give $750,000 back, would that make everyone happy?
I don't think it would, no. But I'm just saying, coaches never have a problem taking that big old raise, so they shouldn't have a problem with the criticism that comes along with that.
Yeah.
AJ says you can look at PFF scores. They flat out didn't execute. Guys were running free in the secondary all day. Offensive line was playing blindfolded. Leading SEC rusher couldn't get going. I haven't looked at the PFF scores. I don't know if they were running all day. The offensive line was not good, and their leading SEC rusher did not get going. He is accurate on those two things.
I'll go back to the last Alabama loss that I experienced, the Alabama-Michigan game.
Mm-hmm.
It was the last game for Nick Saban, and the coaching I thought was fine in that. The snaps were not very good. The protection was shaky against a great. Sometimes
that was a great defense.
It was a great defense. So I just was like, hey, the protection wasn't good. The receivers couldn't get open against a great defense.
Their ones were better than our ones, right? I mean, that's what you would say as an Alabama fan. Like their defensive front was better than our offensive front.
At Tennessee, Jahmyr Gibbs dropped a pass that changes that game.
That's right.
But he dropped it. I mean,
but now Jahmyr Gibbs,
you can't. You're human. Yeah. You're not going to catch them all.
That's right.
I don't know. Keep going. Peyton Thorne coming up in a second.
Yes, Peyton Thorne will be here with us. Blake says, why wouldn't Freeze just put the backup in during the game? What's the worst that could have happened? Another interception? At least they have to show fans Thorne is the only game-ready QB. I mean, I think it speaks volumes they didn't go to Hank Brown. Don't you? It was a one-score game. I mean, that is a tough time. I get what fans want. They always want to see the backup when the starter struggles.
Yeah, usually the most popular guy in the world.
Yeah. That's a one-score game in your home stadium. That was a tough time to just pull the chute.
Yeah. You want to know how difficult it is? I mean, forget the Jalen and Tua comparison. Go back to A.J. McCarron. No, who was it? Who was Greg McElroy after? It was John Parker?
JP. Yeah.
JP. JP was good. Then here comes Greg. You got A.J. McCarron sitting over there.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's one game in 2009, right, that – the offense is stagnant against South Carolina. Help me with my memory. I'm right about this.
Oh, yeah. Had to go to Mark Ingram in the. Now, they were trying to redshirt. That was previous to the 4-game redshirt rule. So one snap burns his redshirt. And they were trying to redshirt McCarron.
But with everything going on, we're going to, instead of bringing A.J. McCarron into the game.
That's right.
Who goes on to be a great quarterback. Mm-hmm. Instead of bringing him.
When he finished, was the best in Alabama history.
Yeah. Instead of bringing him in, we decided to play almost an entire game in the Wildcat formation on the way to a national championship.
That's right. It worked.
That's how hard it is sometimes, and sometimes the separation between QB1 and QB2.
Brody says DeBoer and Sheridan could have murdered Formby in the presser. They talked about talent, experience, and learning. They won, too.
They did.
It's going to be a little bit easier to do that news conference when you win than when you lose.
Yeah.
But they did not kill him. That is true.
It's also easier. Sometimes you don't have to say what's obvious when the more than Nick Saban Aflac commercials or Verbo commercials was the guy tapping his and turning it on and says, that's holding 75.
Well,
I mean, some things go unsaid.
Even Jesse Palmer got very uncomfortable. He's like, I hate to say this, but I think this one's on Formby again. I mean, he's doing the game. He's getting paid to do the game.